Welcome everyone to this absolute train wreck of a video. If you're in the Discord or saw the YouTube post, this video is me hearing out the hot takes from some of the members of the community and giving feedback on them. And I just want to go ahead and say full stop, being completely honest, a lot of you fucking suck at this. Maybe I'm just a generally confrontational and opinionated person when it comes to media that I'm passionate about, because God knows that I will argue about Star Wars for as long as it takes, unless the person that I'm arguing with genuinely thinks that the Acolyte is good writing, and at that point they're so dense that they need to be added to the periodic table as a new element. But regardless, I did see some good stuff, and I will be saving some of my own hot takes for at the end of this video, because this video might actually be a long one. I have some takes that probably won't make me friends with a lot of people, but you know, whatever, that's the point of a hot take. Not every hot take was selected for this video because a lot of them are just complete dog water, but I'll just go ahead and give my first take actually for this video, and that is, your opinion is not a fucking hot take. A hot take is saying something controversial, saying something that will actually get somebody to create an opposing argument or call you some sort of expletive or a slur. Saying I think they should do more X or Y for the tabletop is not a hot take. That is feedback for GW. I am not GW. I'm a guy who plays Iron Warriors. If the most amount you can contribute to a hot take is female custodians could have been done better, then please go 8 or so videos back and contribute to the echo chamber that is that comment section, or cryogenically freeze yourself so that way the future of mankind can be on display as being the pinnacle of room temperature IQ. Beyond that, let's look at some actual hot takes that are somewhat interesting or just make me mad enough to want to say something about it. Some hot takes aren't going to be included because it's just flat out people who don't read the lore or don't know anything about the tabletop or the game or anything in general. So having to restrain myself from some of the more dumb comments I saw, I am going to be making a separate members video of the comments that pissed me off the most and I had to filter out. Some of them genuinely make me lose hope in humanity, but the worst of it is mostly just people having lukewarm takes at best, and like, genuinely, come on guys. Funnily enough, some of my favorite comments have been, all of these takes are lukewarm at best, come on guys, stir up some controversy. And the other one being, he said hot takes and you're turning the comment section into fucking Antarctica. With that, this video is brought to you by my members paying for this Dr. Pepper. If you're not a member and you feel like joining and being part of the Discord, please do so. That's a good Dr. Pepper. I am planning on doing a game night very soon, hopefully within the next week or so, because how long am I here until I go on my trip? I'm here for a week and a half, and I kind of want to do a Barrow Trauma 40k run. I feel like that'd be incredibly funny to do one day, but you know, we'll go ahead and see. So let's go ahead and read some of these hot takes. Named characters should all be sent to Legends or be made more expensive, or only be allowed to be fielded in Apocalypse. We are actually starting off pretty strong with that. Named characters should be sent to Legends is fucking crazy. I think in terms of being a hot take, this is fucking outstanding. I don't know if I particularly agree with this, but I'm also the kind of person who's had more fun getting just like normal captains or chaos lords and fielding them out into being something actually fun. The biggest problem with this is that in how current 40k works, this would be terrible, because having a like standard captain or chaos lord or whatever you want to call it, they basically only exist for you to have command point regeneration or refunding. I remember back in 8th and 9th edition making smash captains, and that was the most fun thing ever. I think how the game is played and balanced now, this could never work. But that being said, in a world where we have the ability to create smash captains or like frontline leaders and stuff like that, I am honestly kind of 100% for this. I think removing named characters from matches makes the game more competitive, because everybody has to deal with the exact same blank slate, rather than I'm gonna field Gilliman or Marines Calgar or both of them at the same time or not. I don't know how that works anymore. I'm gonna be real. Good take. Do I agree with it? Kinda, but regardless, this is very, very spicy take. Adding to the spice, the Custodes are annoying. I know I haven't read any books on them. LARP alert. Oh, this is going to be good. So I don't know if they're meant to be written this way, but in every lore video I've listened to about them, they just constantly suck themselves off or big E. This could be very short-minded, but I don't care. This isn't based off that one Custodes short film either. I saw a lot of comments talking about it and how the Custodes don't act like that, but I've yet to see proof of such. I think a lot of, so I just want to go ahead and say the contempt, I fucking adore it, but I feel like a lot of people view the Custodes in a strange light, but that's because a majority of the media in 40k is presented through the lens of Space Marines. And for anybody who hasn't put 2 and 2 together, Custodes fucking hate Space Marines, because Space Marines are the reason that the Emperor is on the Golden Throne and is basically dead. It's showed a little bit off in ties as well, which I kind of got annoyed with people, is with the female Custodes. I forget her name. But when she was talking to the Space Marines, I think they were the White Templars, and basically telling them, like, you're going to listen to orders or I'm going to kill you. I feel like a lot of people forget that Custodes and Sisters of Battle actually don't like Space Marines. A lot of people who aren't just like normal mortals like the Guard don't like Space Marines because they still remember the fact that the Emperor is put on the throne because of them. The entirety of the heresy happened because of the Space Marines and the Primarchs. So I can understand why Custodes act like assholes to Space Marines, but I've also seen some media where Custodes are just very holier than thou above mortals, which granted they have the right to be, which is understandable because the process of making Custodian isn't just modification, it is straight up altering the DNA of a human being and making them into something that is not necessarily human anymore. That being said, I can understand why people don't like Custodes. This is honestly a very fair take, especially because, yeah, there's a lot of times where Custodes kind of just like glaze themselves up and it does get a little bit of annoying, but you know, Space Marines do the exact same fucking thing. I have a lot of chapters that I don't like because of this. Honestly, good amount of spice to this take. I appreciate it. GW needs to commit to the Imperium being another bad guy in the setting. For people just getting into 40k, it can seem like the Imperium is a monolithic power structure that has cool tanks and guns and cathedrals, etc. This is obviously a very shallow view of the Imperium, but at times it's the only side GW wants to sell, apparently. I'm not saying that they have to make the Imperium lame or uninteresting, but show me the more horrible abuse of power. Show me the more feudal struggles in the face of overwhelming oppression. And sometimes it's easy to forget, however cool Space Marines, Imperial Guard, and Sisters of Battle, and Imperial Assassins are, they still fight to uphold a terrible regime. Some Warhammer Plus shows have done a decent job at it, but it always feels half-assed, like they only care about showing the cool action guys. I feel the theocratic space Nazi side of the Imperium desperately needs some attention. Also, please give me mercenary squat models. I need to put them on the tabletop alongside them. And now, okay, you're losing me now. You're talking about squats and I hate you. This is the problem with GW and just the problem with just like 40k and also, I guess, marketing. GW wants to have its cake and eat it too, and I'm not about to go onto a soapbox and start talking about virtue signaling and a bunch of other bullshit like I'm some sort of fucking political commentator, because I'm not a fucking loser. GW wants to have its cake and eat it too. They want the Imperium to be constantly aura farming, but they also want to constantly remind people like, hey, these guys are the bad guys. You're not rooting for them, right? But in reality, you would probably be rooting for the Imperium because you are a human and every other faction in the setting wants you dead. I don't know. There's really no winning in 40k, and that's kind of the point. But GW, because they're not living in the realm of 40k and they're living in our realm, has to, I really don't want to say virtue signaling because I also can't really think of any other words that kind of fit it. GW wants to sit on a high horse is what I'm trying to say, and constantly talk bad about the Imperium and how awful it is, which it is, but they also want to sell you on the Imperium because it is their main moneymaker, mostly Space Marines, but the Imperium are part of Space Marines more or less. Also, I want mercenary squat models, just proxy, dude. No one gives a shit, just do it. If the Word Bearers stayed loyal, they would have been more interesting than the Black Templars. That is a fucking take, mostly because I fucking hate the Word Bearers. The Word Bearers writing rise are very interesting, and I have not given a fair stab at the Black Templars because I have been putting off listening to Hell's Reach for a very long time, but I do know the Black Templars have a little bit more to them than most people think, especially because most people who are fans of the Black Templars I've met are either super skinny nerds or straight up Nazis, which is kind of a shame that both these people have to be lumped in with each other. That being said, the Word Bearers did the whole if they stayed loyal is a very big if. There was a bunch of compounding different events that pretty much forced them to become traitors. That I can see the appeal of it, though. How do you keep somebody who is incredibly religious and believes the Emperor to be a god to keep them around in the 40k setting? But basically what you're asking for is almost what Black Templars are. You are asking for Space Marine sororitas, almost literally. If not sororitas, at least Word Bearers would just be a like bigger part of the Ministorum, I believe is the organization. I don't know how it would look or work, and I also haven't looked at like the Dornian Heresy or anything like that, because so I don't know what Lorgar's loyal version looks like, at least according to fandom. But I kind of disagree with it. I think the Black Templars are more interesting as they are, and I think the Word Bearers are more interesting as villains. I feel like trying to make the Word Bearers into protagonists just doesn't work in the realm of like Imperial protagonists, not Chaos protagonists, but there might be some room for argument in there, and I can see that. I'll go ahead and say, honestly, good take, kind of understandable, but a little bit questionable. I don't want 40k to turn into Horus Heresy 2. That's what it feels like it's going towards, and there's another comment later on that kind of elaborates more on this, but Yeah, with all the Primarchs coming back, it really does feel like GW is heading in the direction of a second Horus Heresy or a second Siege of Terra, which is very, very fucking annoying because everybody can see it coming from a mile away, and GW takes God knows how long to be able to actually like receive feedback and implement it into not just their writing, but also their game. So it's a very big ship that they have to steer and turn back around. I think it'd be more impressive writing-wise if GW didn't turn this into Horus Heresy 2.0, but that's where all signs are pointing towards, and I do not have high hopes for the future of this setting story. CSM are heralded so much as the cooler Space Marines with actual story and stuff are actually much more boring because they don't really have anything to fight for besides sometimes survival. This nihilistic nature makes them unengaging, never fight for, but always against. That is so fucking true, and I agree with that so much. It's mostly a problem of just like, who was it? Bricky, I think, said it best, where like, how do you explain chaos to somebody? So imagine your friend like pulled a really funny prank on you and posted it online, and to retaliate, you shot his dog and made him watch. Did your friend deserve punishment or repercussions for what they did to you? Yeah, probably. Did they deserve for you to go that far? Probably not. And I feel like that's the biggest problem with chaos, is that they are cartoonishly evil, but that's also kind of the point. I also do somewhat blame the Night Lords Omnibus for this sort of portrayal of chaos, of just constantly being depressed and like there's nothing to fight for, so what else to fight for other than death to the false emperor? Which, I mean, they kind of already did that. They already kind of won, and the Imperium is now just a decaying husk, but the Imperium is also still massive and incredibly powerful, so it's not like they can really do much against them. Pretty much, Chaos is just playing the waiting game. They're kind of just hoping that a majority of the Imperium dies, so that way all the souls get forced into the warp, but this is also like kind of the thing that I wanted to avoid with my own Chaos Warband. I'm going to elaborate more on this in the Broken Tower video when and if I finally get the art for that done, because my brother hasn't had time to do any of that. Whether or not he still is going to do is a different question, but the thing I was trying to avoid is I didn't want to just make people who ran around and destroyed worlds just because fuck the Imperium. The goal of the Broken Tower, or at least Ionium's goal, is to create his literal own Dark Imperium, where in the shadow of the Imperial Nihilists, he is going to create his own section of space where he's unifying all the planets around him and all the systems around him, forcibly or not, to join his cause, so that way there is actually a bulwark to fight against the Imperium in case they ever come knocking. Right now, the Imperium Nihilist is pretty much keeping them safe. You're able to cross it, it's just really fucking hard. Aside from that, it's nice to, you know, have a goal for your villains. I also even do this in Age of Sigmar with my Warriors of Chaos, where they call Slaves to Darkness Warband, where the only living person in the warband is the Chaos Lord, who ended up getting wounded by, I think I said it was a Night Haunt. It was either a Night Haunt or it was a Vampire Lord from Soulblight. Regardless, he ended up getting wounded and his soul is now leaking. His goal is to search through the Realms of Chaos, because the Realms of Chaos are all timey-wimey fucky bullshit, and he's looking for Galmoraz in that brief moment where it was stuck in the Realm of Chaos so that he can claim it and save his soul. Whether or not he's actually going to do this is a different story, but he has a goal, at least. A lot of Chaos doesn't seem to have a goal, and that's my problem with a lot of the warbands, especially the Black Legion. Abaddon has a goal, but his goal is very, like, overarching. It's just like, I want to destroy the Imperium. Okay, man, how about we just, like, settle for smaller victories, which is kind of why I like that the Black Crusades got retconned, because it was him gearing up for the 13th Black Crusade and attacking Cadia and splitting open the Eye of Terror. People don't like the retcons for the 13th Black Crusade, not the 13th Black Crusade, but for all the Black Crusades. I think it was a well-done idea. Well written, that's a different question, but the idea of it being Abaddon gearing up for the big fight makes the Black Crusades seem less like losses and more like, not necessarily victories, but just adding to his future plan. Going on the back foot of from liking homebrew to hating it, I don't care about your homebrew legion, anybody. They have an epic backstory and the colors signify noble sacrifice. I'm sure it's all very nice. Roll the dice. Holy fucking based. I understand this in a tournament setting, because I also sometimes like talking about my own homebrew lore and stuff. Not introduce that to people, but in case somebody asks, I would obviously bring it up. But I do know that there have been moments in tournament settings or in like competitive settings, not necessarily tournament, where people go a bit crazy into the, oh, let me tell you about this character, let me tell you about this guy and this guy, and you're just there to fucking play some toy soldiers and just enjoy your game. There's people who are in this hobby solely for the gameplay, and that's completely justifiable. There's people who are in this hobby solely because they like painting minis. There's people who don't even paint minis or play the game and they just read the books. I don't know why you would do that, because 40k books are not that great, but people do that. if that is your stance, that you don't care about homebrew or anything like that, that's fine. I think less of you as a person, but you know, that's fine. Your models are probably all gray and shitty, or they were probably all painted with a fucking airbrush and with just a base coat and nothing else, but you know, whatever. Those are your minis. I can't fault you for that. That's a lie. I can. I hate people like you. I genuinely wish harm upon you. Not really. But you are entitled to want to just play your game and not give a shit about anybody else's homebrew. That's honestly perfectly justifiable, and I think that's okay. Good take and good amount of spice. I like that a lot. 40k needs more bittersweet and good endings for characters like in the book Double Eagles, but most 40k fans are stuck in their emo phase and get depression boners when their favorite character dies. I don't know how many books end with characters who people like actually dying. This is kind of my problem with Storm of Iron, is that Storm of Iron, even after everything, the Imperium still gets a good ending because Hawk survives, which fucking pisses me off. I feel like hope is a very integral part about Grimdark as a setting, is that there's always the chance for things to get better. There's always small victories. You can't change the world is too big, but you can have a moment of peace and quiet. I think having overly good endings is not good for 40k as a setting, but I do think that like small victories here and there are completely understandable. I also do agree that a lot of people do get like emo, like depression boners when it comes to some 40k, but those are just like the weirdo people. These are the people who glaze the Daemon Kilaba as being like peak Grimdark when it's fucking not. And there's comments about that later, and I'll get more into that when that comes up. But I do feel like there's a good amount of people who are too obsessive with Grimdark as an aesthetic for 40k. And it's not the fact of just like the aesthetic itself, but like people want the game to be dark. People want it to be depressing because that's all they want out of it. The actual art style of it, like I think people call it Blanchitsu or some shit like that, which sounds like Sanashu, which also makes me think of Christian, but fuck, we're not talking about that. Art styles like that and aesthetics like that people make for their armies, I think are fucking fantastic. But I can also see how that ends up feeding into the whole people wanting things to just be grim, dark, and depressing for no other reason other than it's grim, dark, and depressing. Even Berserk, which is, I wouldn't call Berserk the most depressing thing I've ever read, but it's pretty fucking dark a lot of the time. But even Berserk has moments of hope, and that's the point, is that you have to juxtapose the grim, dark with moments of light. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that. But honestly, for me, I'm just going to keep saying this. I think Hawk should have died in Storm of Iron. I hate that he lived, but, you know, whatever. Erebus did nothing wrong. I included this just because someone decided to say it. This take is stupid, and I know it's just bait, but your bait's working, and I hate you. Erebus is literally the reason the Horus Heresy happened, with the sole exception of Dan Abnett, by the way. But the dumb take. I get the meme, but dumb take. Salamanders are overrated by the community, even more so than the Ultramarines at this point. That's because the fucking community didn't glaze Ultramarines. That was GW, but sure, man, let's just go ahead and have some fucking major psychosis. Salamanders do get glazed too much, I think, by people, self-included. That's mostly because a majority of 40k fans are exactly like JJK fans. They don't read anything because they're illiterate. Salamanders are not the only Space Marine chapter that actually cares about human lives and will go out of their way to protect people. They just get more casualties because they're not the brightest, realistically speaking. After doing research on the Raven Guard, I didn't realize how much they actually cared about human populations, and I'm looking more into other Space Marine chapters. And yeah, pretty much every Space Marine chapter that isn't like the Flesh Terrors really cares about humans. I think the Flesh Terrors also care about humans because I think they literally avoid Imperial space when they go out on their crusades. But I could be wrong about that. Flesh Terrors video in fucking 15 years, who knows? Mid-take, your perception is warped by GW and not by the community. The Horus Heresy should have stayed in the realms of hushed tones and half-remembered stories and mythic/religious fable. I agree, in a way. And it was like that for a very long time. That was until the Horus Heresy started getting fleshed out with, I think it was Horus Rising is the first book. Yeah, which was published in like 2006. Up until then, I'm pretty sure a majority of the Horus Heresy was like hushed tones and fables, but people want things to be explained, and we live in a world where people want everything to be explained, and it's so fucking annoying. Subtlety is dead. The realm of imagination is dead. Coming to your own conclusions is dead. Everything needs to be explained, or else I'm gonna throw a fucking bitch fit. I hate people, and I just, god damn it. It fucking pisses me off. I am glad the Horus Heresy exists for like people who want to read that sort of stuff, and also the game especially. I really like Horus Heresy as a game, and I wish I got to play more of it, but I do really see the appeal of the Horus Heresy staying in the realm of myth and fable. I think it makes it far more interesting, but there's also just like cool moments in the Horus Heresy that happen, and what is 40k other than hype moments in Aura? It's nothing, it's just that. New Crons are better than old Crons, and we need more Xenos. Okay, this take is mid not once, but twice. Yes, new Crons are better than old Crons, because old Crons were literally fucking nothing. If you liked old Crons, you are a fucking boomer, and that is all I have to say to you. And the topic of we need more Xenos, how many Xenos armies do you own? Tell me, do you own any Xenos armies? By this comment, I assume you own Necrons, and I assume that's all you own. You probably don't own squats, you probably never played Eldar, you probably never even looked at an orc model. Xenos don't make GW money, that is a fact. We're getting Eldar Exodites in Kill Team, and that's it. They're probably not going to make another Xenos faction for God knows how many fucking years. You will have squats, and you will like squats, and that is all you will get. People who want more Xenos don't put their fucking money where their mouth is, and it pisses me off. So, while I agree with you, new Crons are better than old Crons, mid fucking take. Dark Angels are just loyalist Alpha Legion. What the fuck are you, what are you trying to say? I'm so confused. What are you trying to say about this? What? You didn't even elaborate. You just said this, and I think you said in the second part also Vulcan did nothing wrong. Sure, man. Someone get Grandpa back into the dementia home and give him his fucking pills. Oh, this is kind of a long one. As an Iron Warriors fan, the idea that they still operate as they did during the time of the Legions and not as mostly disorganized independent warbands hate chaos, but also use demon engines, hate possession and chaos blessings / mutations, but have the obliterator cults, have warbands openly worship the gods, but that's just one fringe group. It's all just dumb to me. If you want Chaos taint-free Iron Warriors who fight like a Legion under a Primarch, go play 30k. By 40k, they have all fallen, maybe not as far as the other Legions, but they have fallen. They're important named characters, all use demon and warp stuff constantly and openly. Iron Warriors are Chaos Marines, and always will be. Fucking preach! I wholeheartedly agree, and this is still somehow an argument in the Iron Warriors subreddit. Iron Warriors are fucking corrupted. Go read Storm of Iron. Don't even read it, actually, because, once again, 40k players are fucking illiterate. Don't read Storm of Iron. Go look at the fucking cover. Iron Warriors are corrupted. You can write your warband to be less corrupted, and that's understandable. Or, hear me out, they literally gave you rules in Chaos to play Renegade Warband, where you don't get Dark Pacts, where you can't take demon stuff, where you can't take the Slaves to Darkness units. Go play that shit. Go have fun with it. Don't fucking go around and LARP with my faction and say, actually, they're not Chaos tainted. Fuck you. Yes, they are. Hanso literally says for the dark gods. Lick my output forwards and back. A good take, by the way. I wish more people had a level head like you. The more Necrons get fleshed out, the more lame they become. Fucking what? Huh? What do you mean by this? What do you? I know. Necrons getting fleshed out literally gave them more fans. It literally made them more interesting. Are you just a hater? Do you just say shit to start controversy because it's working? This is bait and it's working on me. Twice Dead King is literally one of the best 40k novels to come out, and we're not going to talk about fucking Infinite and Divine because it's just a meme. It's a good book, but it's just a meme. That being said, Necrons becoming more fleshed out and becoming actually interesting was literally the best thing to happen to the faction. The other thing that was good for the faction was them getting a fucking refresh. If you don't like new Necrons, that's fine. No one's telling you to like new Necrons, but don't go out and say that they became more lame because they got fleshed out. This is not a case of like the Tyranids. The Necrons used to be a people. The Tyranids are literally animals. There's a difference. I think a Great Crusade era setting with all 20 Primarchs, and you're already pissing me off, would be more interesting than 40k, old or new. Fighting for a better future while navigating the sea of imperial hypocrisy just makes a more touching and interesting setting than decay for the sake of decay. Okay, so you basically don't want Warhammer, is all I'm hearing. And you just want fucking, I don't like Primarch AU or something. First, you said 20 Primarchs. What is it, 2nd and 11th Primarch? The 2nd and 11th Primarch are never going to be elaborated on. And I don't remember if there's another comment talking about the lost Primarchs. I don't think there is, so I'll just go ahead and say this. The reason why the 2nd and 11th Primarch are never going to be elaborated on, because a lot of people either don't understand this or I don't know. Maybe I'm also just like smoking dick or something. The reason why the lost Primarchs are never going to be elaborated on outside of they once existed is because back in the day, the purpose of the 2nd and 11th Primarch were you can make your own Primarch. You can have a Chaos Primarch or you can have a Loyalist Primarch. They are lost. Lost to time. Nobody said anything. But then Horus Heresy came in. The Lost Primarchs were literally decanonized in the Imperial Truth or whatever the fuck by Big E during the time of the Great Crusade, or actually before, I think. That being said, you're literally asking for a setting that isn't 40k, and you just want a space fantasy sci-fi shit with nothing about what makes 40k interesting. Saying 40k exists in a setting of decay for the sake of decay is completely forgetting that the entirety of the fucking Horus Heresy happened, and there's a reason why the decay happened. I think this is an L take, genuinely, but I also, I get what you're asking for, but you're asking for a completely different game and setting. Go look out at other miniature war games. There's a bunch of shit out there for you, genuinely. There should be more Xenos. I'm already gonna hate this. There should be more Xenos factions that are neutral and can be allied with other races like the Spindle Drones and Bulls or the Archivist. There's loads of alien species that are mentioned but don't get any representation in the art or tabletop. That would be really cool to see. They could easily make a couple of kill teams for pirates / mercenaries and Tau auxiliaries. I already said this in an earlier take, so I'm gonna say it again. Xenos don't sell. That's just the fact. They do not sell like Space Marines. They don't sell like Imperium. They don't sell like Chaos. I think Xenos is genuinely the least played faction of all of them in 40k. And that's like genuinely assuming we separate Space Marines from Imperium. I think Xenos is the least played faction. I can count on one hand the amount of GSC cult players that I've met. One of them is Bricky, and the other one is a guy at my store. The other 3 are people who I've met at tournaments over the past, how long have I been doing Warhammer for? 6 years? Like, people don't play Xenos. And for the whole other thing of like, oh, I want more neutral units, you have to find a way to balance that, because if anybody can take neutral units, those units might be cracked in certain armies against others. This becomes a tabletop balance issue. This is why Agents of the Imperium don't work, because they're all technically neutral units. So we need to make them all shit so they can never work as an army. That is the truth. Once again, if you want more Xenos, buy Xenos. Show GW you want Xenos. Or, I don't know, honestly, at this point, just like fucking kit bash or proxy things, because that's genuinely the way you're only going to be happy. Because 40k's been out for like, I don't even know how old 40k is. I think we're approaching 50 years. Probably not. I'm sorry, 40k is near, really, it was almost 40 years old. That's hilarious. 40k is like 40 or nearing 40 years old. And it's taken this long for us to get a single kit for Eldar Exodites. If you're a Xenos fan and you want more Xenos stuff, don't wait. Go proxy shit. Because you're going to be dead by the time you get the army you want. Custodes should be retired as an army and should go back to only being a force seen and talked about in lore, stories on the sides. If you want to play them, go play Horus Heresy missions set during the Siege of Terra. Based as fuck. We went from I want more armies to someone saying squat Custodes. That's crazy. I think Custodes are just boring as an army, and I feel like they don't work in 40k because of how boring they are, because they are just a stat check army almost as much as Knights, if not more. Saying that they belong in Horus Heresy, I kind of get why, and as a Mechanicus player, I also want them to stay in Horus Heresy, because if I can't have all my cool Mechanicum stuff, you shouldn't have all your cool Horus Heresy Custodes stuff. I understand why Custodes are in the setting and are more active, but also in my own Custodes video, I talk about it. The reason why Custodes are more active is because like 8 bloodthirsters showed up in the Imperial Palace, which is such a weak fucking reason, in my opinion, for like why the Custodes are out fighting. It's like, oh god, we're being invaded. We now need to go make more proactive decisions. Like, it took you 10,000 years to come to that conclusion? Honestly, stay in the fucking palace. Nobody fucking wants you. I kind of agree. So, okay take. Not lukewarm, not hot. Okay. Genestealer cults don't need a named leader, and they work because they're supposed to represent the unwashed masses of the Imperium. That always sounds so racist to say. I actually like the fact that they're one of the armies that aren't centered around a prolific character or leader, and they can legit be anyone. Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree. Honestly, no, you said it perfectly. I agree. Good take. It's not particularly hot. I don't know who the fuck is out here asking for named Genestealer characters, but no, good take. I agree. GW should build up Tau throughout 11th edition. You're already talking about fucking Tau. GW should build up Tau throughout 11th edition and then have a fully Grimdark species-wide Tau extinction at the end of 11th going into 12th. For what reason? I don't know if I cut off context for this, but like, why? You just want to stir some shit up with the Tau? Is that it? Do you just want Tau to die? I'm so confused. What's the fucking point? Huh? Go fucking read a book, man. Sanguinius was just as flawed and dangerous as Angron, and if it wasn't for his death, he would have become just as bad or worse than Angron. That's a really, really fucking interesting way of looking at it. I don't know much about Sanguinius towards the end of the heresy, other than that he was incredibly stressed because, you know, he could see the future. That being said, I can see it. Yeah, no, I can see it. I don't know if I particularly agree more dangerous than Angron, because Angron had the fucking butcher's nails, but I also know that the Black Rage was kind of like seeping out towards the end of Sanguinius's life, because it also was affecting some of the Blood Angels when he got knocked out by that one Bloodthirster, I think it was. Yeah, no, I can see it. I don't think it's correct, but I can see it. Interesting take. If nothing else, just interesting. Fucking long one again. Okay. The Necrons are a horribly designed faction aesthetically, on the tabletop, and based on lore. We're not going to be friends after I'm done reading this. They are incredibly goofy looking and not even in a fun way. I feel nothing but contempt when I look at most of their models, and their vehicles make me genuinely upset. The barges and arcs and the War of the Worlds rip-off walkers. Don't even get me started on the Tomb Blades. Okay, no, Tomb Blades are dog shit. I fucking 100% agree with you. The Necron characters to have zero personality. Are you fucking crazy? Let me keep reading. They all look the same and are just snarky robots in lore. Okay, never mind. I understand now. You also never see a creatively painted Necron army.
It's all just gray. Not to mention the slog they are into. Even when there isn't a single katana table, you have to deal with warrior blobs and stat 6 rates, all of which generate every single turn. Their books are shit. Yes, even Infinite and the Divine and the fundamental lore makes it so difficult to engage or relate with them anyway due to their immortality. I cannot stand the Necrons.
W fucking take. This is gold. Holy shit. I don't think I've seen this much contempt for a faction in a long time. Oh my god. I'm not judging this. No, never mind. You fucking win. You clearly hate more than I do. My headcanon is that the Fem Custodes were made as a consolation prize to Malcador, so you shut the fuck up about female Primarchs. Malcador is woke! That's funny, I needed that. It should be illegal, wait. It should be illegal to retell about a faction/slash character or event if you didn't read the original source? I know it takes a lot of time, but to me, it seems the majority of people's opinion is purely made of what their favorite YouTubers tell them. I feel like I'm being called out here. And sometimes those YouTubers get their info from another retell, further erasing details and important context. I kind of agree, not fully, because the getting to like reading the original source is a bit of an ask, because not everything is fully documented for 40K. Like, I don't know if like, hold on. Like, I don't know when the last time, I feel like there should be like, because I need to do this. I'm fucking stumbling all over my words. But like, I think there's a PDF version of the Eye of Terror campaign book out there, for instance, among other things like that, where sometimes it's just difficult to grab the actual like source, especially what is it, Half-Breed, which is the only material that was talking about Pershuraba as a demon Primarch for like 10 plus fucking years. I get what you're going for. That's a bit of an ask. That's actually an incredibly massive ask now that I think about it. I understand though. I still think you're wrong, but I very much agree with the part of it eventually ends up becoming YouTubers like regurgitating info from one another and completely losing out on context. That's why I try to do as much research as I can, but I am also a one-man band, so I do miss out on a lot of stuff. I'm not Adeptus Ridiculous. I don't have my own writer writing up my scripts for me. Possum, my goat, I love you. But it's a fucking lot, dude. This I think there was another comment where someone said like 40K needs a lore master, and it's getting to the point where, yeah, it probably fucking does, but I don't think you could train a human being to learn all of 40K lore. There's so much, especially because it's so fucking disjointed, because it's written by 50 different authors, and that's why the Horus Heresy is such a fucking mess. I will say though, spicy take. Nice. Abaddon should have died at the hands of Sigismund. I hate Abaddon, so I agree. That's it. You get an agreement. Fuck Abaddon. I don't like him. The Lost Primarchs should have been somewhat more fleshed out. I love the idea that the Emperor's empathy was a trait of one of them and he had him killed off, as he knew that there was no space in his dream for empathy and compassion. Are we going to ignore the fact that the Star Child is literally the Emperor's compassion and empathy that was ejected into the warp because he knew he couldn't kill Horus? Do you know Warhammer? Or at least like 30K, I guess, because you talk about the Lost Primarchs, so we're talking about 30K now. Once again, the Lost Primarchs were always, as far as I'm concerned, always meant to be your own homebrew and nothing else. That's why they're never going to be fleshed out. But GW walked back on that, and they pre-established that before the Horus Heresy, the Lost Primarchs, were erased, which is crazy to think that they did something worse than what the Horus Heresy was. But technically speaking, in the Imperial truth, or in the Imperial cults, the other 9 traitor Primarchs, or I guess, 9 traitor Primarchs are also erased from Imperial canon. So it's not hard. It happens. It's just that the other 18 Primarchs were around when the original 2 ended up having to get ejected. So their minds also had to get wiped. I think the most human faction in all of 40k isn't the Imperial Guard, it's the Necrons. There is a really cool, juxtaposition. I think I'm using that word right, I can't remember. But it's a really cool, balance between, Mechanicus and Necrons in the Mechanicus video game. You see that the Admech they're human, but they strip off their own flesh and they speak in a language that can't be understood, whereas the Necrons look human, but they're made out of metal and want to return to flesh, yet they speak perfect fucking English whenever they interact with you. It's very cool and just subtle detail that I always loved about that game that I feel like a lot of people, it gets lost on everybody. But I kind of agree in a little bit. Adding the Skaven to 40k, this is how I know you're over the age of 40, because I don't know who's asking for this shit. I'm gonna be real. I haven't seen a single comment about this, but it's just always been from Warhammer Fantasy to I think 8th edition or 7th edition Warhammer, people were asking for this shit for some reason. But adding Skaven to 40k would completely destroy the setting balance wise and would be a huge waste and add nothing meaningful to the 40k setting. I agree. There was a point in time where I wanted to have Skaven in 40k, but once again, guess what you guys can do? You can proxy shit. I can have fucking Skaven Genestealer cults and it wouldn't be that fucking weird. But people, who's asking for Skaven in 40k? Go play Age of Sigmar. It's a better rule system. That's not even a lie. I've played both of them and I like Age of Sigmar way more. Here's my hot take. Horus Aximand should have survived the Horus Heresy to be the new War Master. Think about it. After Horus dies, he's made a martyr, and then there's a guy named Horus who kind of looks like him. Why not make him the new War Master in the name of the big heresy himself? That's because at the end of the Horus Heresy, Horus Aximand was dead by this point. I think Gavriel Loken was the one who killed him. I'm pretty sure it was Gavriel Loken. But assuming Horus Aximand even survived, the problem is that Abaddon, I guess, if Horus Aximand survived, because I don't remember what rank Horus Aximand was, because he wasn't first captain. He was 5th company captain. So he was way lower on the totem pole than Abaddon. So yeah, probably Abaddon would have still been in charge, and the whole point is that after the Horus Heresy, Abaddon viewed Horus as a failure. There's literally that moment where they run into a clone of him. I think Fabius Bile made a clone of Horus or something like that. And he literally disowned him and killed him. And Abaddon was so juiced up on chaos that he was stronger than Horus when he was a normal Primarch. So that's why. I think it still would have played out as the exact same thing. I don't know though. Maybe. Who knows? I don't think Horus Aximand was interesting enough and had enough of a cult of personality around him to justify him becoming the new War Master. The Tyranids should not get more lore. I've seen a lot of people want them to go the Necron route, where they start with little to no lore and then get a whole bunch down the line. That would fucking suck. A huge part of what makes the Tyranids appealing to me anyway is that we don't really know a damn thing about them much farther than they want to eat us. And frankly, that's all we need from them. I agree. Yeah, no, the Tyranids are, I talked about this in Tyranid video, towards the end. The Tyranids are a force of nature. You do not need to make the force of nature sympathetic or understandable. The hurricane does not need a motive to tear your fucking house apart. The hurricane is just going to tear your fucking house apart if it blows in that direction. And I feel like people don't understand force of nature is a writing thing. It's something that can be done in very well, as a matter of fact, honestly, in my opinion. But yeah, no, I agree. I don't think this is a spicy take, but I also don't see a lot of people asking for Tyranid lore like that, especially from a first person perspective. The Leagues of Votann should have a high presence and standing in the setting. Yeah, that would require somebody to be interested in writing about them. That's it. Nobody wants to write about the Leagues of Votann as far as I'm concerned. I don't think a lot of people are interested in Leagues of Votann, as cool as Space Dwarves are, which I'm going to go ahead and say right now. There's a lot of cool lore with Votann, and also fucking Deep Rock Galactic does really cool shit with it. There's a really cool, I think it's when you procedure something in the new game mode, the new roguelike one, where you go to a giant anvil that fucking presses your hammer and gives it a new material or something. It's a whole ceremony, which is super fucking sick. I love it. And if I ever run a Wrath and Glory campaign and somebody picks a Votann, I am going to steal that. But it just requires people to be interested in writing them. And I don't know if GW writers are given the same freedom as Valve devs, where they're allowed to just drop a project and go work on something else, because I don't think they are. in all honesty. 40k should have never had more than 2 Primarchs return. I feel like it centralizes the narrative too much, and I like what they've done with each, but it makes the entire setting feel like Horus Heresy 2.0. Yeah, that's where the narrative is going, and I'm very annoyed about that, but that's life. That's how it is. Personally speaking, I don't have any Primarch to play with in-game, so I can't attest to how they feel in-game, but from my understanding, it's also just like nice to have like a big like centerpiece leader like a Primarch in your army. I won't know until Perturaba's back, but hell, maybe I'll be that guy who runs Perturaba every game. Who knows? We'll see. But it is most definitely a GW wants to sell you a product, and they know that Primarchs are going to sell because the majority of people want Primarchs back in the setting. Also, seeing the evolution of Primarchs from 30k to 40k is somewhat interesting. I still hate Lion. I think he's still an asshole. I'm glad he's mellowed the fuck out, but it doesn't make me like him anymore. Also, he has a 3-up invuln for no fucking reason, and it's bullshit. I just want GW to be more experimental, not with lore, but with units, or give more light on some of the weaker factions that deserves more praise than just Space Marines. Then start buying shit from those factions that don't get that much representation. Show GW that you are interested in different factions other than fucking Space Marines. Spoiler alert, you are not going to make a fucking difference, and you should just grow up and deal with it. If you want to have something different and interesting, go homebrew and kit bash your own shit. Nobody will stop you. If you're playing at a GW store, you're a fucking psychopath. Just find a gaming group that's local to you. They exist, believe me, unless you live in like the Appalachian Mountains. Honestly, a Wendigo will probably play fucking Kill Team with you more than somebody at a GW store. The Carcharodons have a literal living megalodon in their main battlecruiser. Besides chapter rituals, what would they have? Why would they have something like that? It provides no tactical advantage and could be a massive waste of resource to keep an animal like that alive. Also, the fact you haven't done a Carcharodons video yet is criminal because I'm covering the fucking main founding legions. Also, this is 40k. We have church drop pods. We teleport titans from orbit onto planetary surfaces. These Sisters of Battle have bulletproof stained glass shields. And you're concerned about a megalodon being on a fucking ship the size of Greater Manhattan. Please get your fucking priorities straight. 3rd edition was the best edition. I come from a time where people's backs don't fucking hurt, so I don't know what you're talking about, old man. Go play your weird fucking kooky ass Warhammer. I will play a game that's actually balanced and more interesting. That being said, I'm going to be complaining about that later, so don't worry about it. The Leagues of Votann could be as strong as the Tau, if not stronger, if they cared about expanding it. Yeah, no fucking shit. That's every single faction in 40k. Wow, who would have seen that coming? God, yes, if any faction was expanded upon and written to be better, they would be strong. This is a fucking argument that's been talked about in circles for the entirety of 40k existing. Yes, we know. It's not gonna fucking happen because there has to be a setting. And if one faction is dominant over the rest, we don't have a fucking setting. That's how it is. I don't know what to tell you. Go play your funny dwarves. The burning of Monarchia was a self-defense. Fucking based? What? I don't know too much about the nuance around the burning of Monarchia. I know like the broad strokes about it, but self-defense is crazy. Oh my god. Based as fuck. Please. Oh my god. The Red Corsairs would be better if they denied chaos and didn't work with anyone who followed them. I feel like you're not remembering the fact that the Red Corsairs were stationed right next to the Maelstrom and were getting chaos corrupted the entire time during the Bad Ab War. And also, Luthieron was literally driven to a point of madness. And the only reason he made a pact with the Dark Gods is because he literally got fucking blown up in half. So yeah, no, they were gonna fall to chaos. Also, once again, you know what you can do? You can play Renegade Warband. That's the thing you can do right now. Guess what? It's okay. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty interesting. I think it's cool for people who like it. Warhammer as a whole should include more smut. Holy shit, what? And I don't mean the goon slop you see now from men who don't. Is this a woman? What? Why do I feel like this was written by a woman? That's not a sexist thing. That's just a genuine question. I'm reading more into this. Jesus Christ. Not the. I don't mean the goon slop that you see now for men who don't know what an actual human woman looks like. I mean the good stuff. Give me forbidden steamy romances. Give me the 40k equivalent to 50 Shades. Messy queer situationships between the Astartes. What the fuck? Factorum worker is so down bad for a Genestealer cult girl that he betrays everything just to get eaten. Monster fuckers in AOS. Warhammer is about the experience of living in the worst world imaginable, and sometimes that means gets horny without Slanesh even noticing. Some of my favorite Warhammer fanfic, oh Jesus Christ. Some of my favorite Warhammer fanfiction gets, or is so horny, that the fact that GW doesn't even want to touch it with a 10-foot pole feels infantilizing. At least Caiaphas Kane occasionally admits he stares at boobs. I fucking kneel. This is based as fuck. It's never gonna happen, but this is based as fuck. Holy shit. This could only have been written by a TikTok book girl. That's fucking crazy. My God, I kneel to you. You are genuinely an amazing human being. Holy shit. The Tau were cooler when they were a clear contrast with the rest of the setting. Back when I first got into 40k, the Tau were this itty bitty tiny slice of what if we could be a space empire and not horrid. Somehow the sheer levels of hate and trolling the community heaped onto the Tau led to the writers deciding, wait, we can't have nice things. This is Warhammer. So now the Tau are just another faction of horror totalitarian autocrats fighting space racism with more space racism. Yeah, it's kind of the thing that annoys me about Tau as well, is that I really found it more interesting that, like, hey, we're not as big as expansive as the Imperium, so we can actually have a handle on things and don't have to be horrible pieces of shit. Which, yeah, that's interesting, genuinely. And this was back in, like, I think it was the early 2000s, like 1999, I think is when Tau got introduced. I can't remember. But that was definitely the time of, like, when Warhammer was a lot more niche. So you had the very vocal people being, like, neckbeards and shit who, like, I want my Grimdark. And the GW caved and they made it more Grimdark to try and make it more appealing. And people still don't like Tau, which is... it's just the cycle of Tau. Nobody likes you. That's just the truth. Lorgar should have returned instead of Perch Rabo. Find a bridge. And now the last one, some comments from the Discord. These ones are, I only picked the best ones and we're starting off pretty good. The Demonculava isn't even that bad. I fucking agree. To clarify, I do not think that it is so horrifying as not to fit in the setting. The hand-wringing about it is often more cringe than the actual events to me now. Then again, I did read the book when I was an edgy teenager, so it's probably chaos-tinted glasses. I say this as somebody who does their own creative writing, and I like really wants to share my stuff. And I talked about this on a stream one time where it's just like, the Demonculava, it's disgusting and it's horrid. It is not the worst fate you could imagine for somebody in 40k as a setting. It's awful. It's foul. It's not the worst thing you could do, though. You could do a lot worse if you really, really let people get into it. Also, Graham McNeil apparently just keeps getting brought on 40k projects whenever they need something just fucking awful, which is really, really based, and I appreciate that. Also, Graham McNeil, please seek fucking, like, mental assistance. But I talked about this on stream one time. Like, the reason why I like Trench Crusade is that it is unapologetically horrific. It is to the point where, like, you can be as good of a person as possible. You could be a literal living saint. But if you get shot with a specific hell gun, your soul gets sent straight to hell no matter what. And the other thing about Trench Crusade that I really like, and it's like some writings that I want to see if I can make it into a video one day, maybe not, but it's the idea of desecrated saints. So the idea is that because God is omnipotent and all-knowing, people know that there's going to be saints and they try to find them so that way they can maintain their correct path and become saints and become a boon for the forces of the faithful. But eventually, sometimes hell gets their hands on the saints first, perverses them, corrupts them, and parades them around like trophies. And to me, the interesting thing is, what do you have to do to a person who is so just, so good, and so holy that they are almost at the same level as the Redeemer himself, but almost there, that they get corrupted and turn their back on God? That shit's interesting to me. And you can make a lot of fucked up stuff with it. Because there's shock value for the sake of shock value. But there's also doing a horrid shit and making people think. And I feel like a lot of that isn't done with Warhammer. But also, Warhammer isn't the setting to do that. Foreverwinter does this perfectly. There's a fucking mech that throws you into a body bag that paralyzes you, drains you of your blood, and slowly decomposes your body to use you as fuel. Have I mentioned I fucking love Foreverwinter? But continuing on. You should play for the vibes and Baneblade your friend at 1,000 points. You're an asshole, but also do it. Primarchs armor is among the best armor marks Space Marines ever had, plus first-print proportions and poses suck balls and I'm tired of acting like they were perfect. Thank you! More of a continuation on this. Indominus Terminator helmets look stupid and ugly and should be replaced with Grey Knight Terminator helmets. I agree, Grey Knight Terminator helmets are awesome. I don't think they work for Indominus armor though. But yes, I like Primaris armor. I think it looks good. I like the I like Mark 10. I like Phobos armor. I fucking love Phobos armor. I literally dedicated my entire Salamanders army to be based around Phobos armor, except for the Gravis units, of course. Gravis armor, I can see the arguments for why it's shit, but I still think it's interesting. And the only reason I like older armor marks is because they're being redone by not GW, but by the 3D printing community. I have files for Mark III armor that look good. And guess what? They're proportioned well, unlike old Mark III armor. The Horus Heresy is a bit better, but I don't like short marines. Eldar have better looking designs than any other faction. Yeah, you know, I agree with this. The Eldar have had this like very interesting art style and like aesthetic to them. And yeah, no, I agree. I don't think they're the best, but it's definitely a better design compared to most people, especially compared to Space Marines. People that hate all Space Marines no matter what are the annoying hipsters of Warhammer. Fucking preach. I genuinely, it's like, what do you mean you don't like the superpowered dude wearing armor as heavy as a fucking tank and just decking the shit out of the enemies of mankind for nothing other than the glory of humankind? If you hate Space Marines for lore reasons, that's understandable. If you hate Space Marines, I hate Space Marines because they're popular. Dunk your head under a bucket of water and don't come back up. Okay, my hot take is that... Why do I feel like I'm gonna hate this? Okay, my hot take is not even one of the major themes of Warhammer is stagnation. I'm of the opinion that certain things should either come back, like some of the Primarchs are still alive, or new things can be added, because while stagnation is one of the themes, you can only see so much before you get tired of it. Yeah, no, actually, I agree. No, that was actually really good. Stagnation is one of the major themes of Warhammer, but if you focus on the stagnation too much, then your setting becomes stale. If you don't inject anything into it, your setting becomes stale. That's why the Primarchs are coming back. As much as I can see from 1,000 miles away, we're just going to get Siege of Terror 2.0. I can also see how GW would find ways to avoid it, but I don't think they're good enough writers to do that. Warhammer was better when it was a bunch of freaks writing it. It's gotten too big to be genuinely weird now. I think old Warhammer lore is stupid and bullshit. I also like, especially Rogue Trader, but Rogue Trader's not canon anymore. Fucking Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau, you're gonna tell me that shit was goated? No. Or well, we talk about like the as much as I don't like them, Imperial Fists eating shit from a vault or something, whatever that was all about. Old Warhammer lore is just weird for the sake of being weird. I feel it keeps a lot of that like old like 1980s 1990s punk to it, where it's just like I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very specific writing and like art style to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that has been abandoned, in my opinion, for the better. The Marines Beloved are actually a great chapter and a good callback to early depictions of Space Marines. They don't take things too seriously and have clear character and aesthetic. Space Marines are supposed to be violent, stunted child soldiers wielded by a horrific hierarchy that rewards ruthlessness. Fuck noble knights and heroes, they're assholes and that's good. No, I agree. I got nothing to say more on that, actually. No, yeah, that's their entire point. It's more of a niche than the hot take, but I do not care for Solomon Akura. It's for a number of reasons, but the one that grinds my gears the most is this whole if the Imperium can't survive without its cruelties, it doesn't deserve to thing. And in my opinion, the over-reliance on his possessed bionic arm. I don't know much about Solomon Akura. I'm going to have to learn more about him if and when I do an Alpha Legion video, but I can see why that would get boring and uninteresting very, very quickly. Call could kill at least 3 custodians. Call's gun is literally called a solar atomizer. Like if we're talking about like in lore, Call can easily kill custodians. If we're talking about in game, that becomes something different because invuln saves are bullshit. But yeah, no, I also just like hate how people don't realize that tech priests are genuinely threats in combat, and it takes a lot to kill them. Lore hot take is Lion sucks. It's not a hot take, that's a fact. Hot take, Leman Russ is a coward and a little bitch who fled from the Imperium. Hot take, Leman Russ is a coward and a little bitch who fled after the Imperium looked to be fallen and blamed it on some great conquest, when in reality, he wants to abandon his own kin and put brothers to mope. I don't like Leman Russ for a lot of many fucking reasons, but I don't know if that's one of them. That being said, I will take any Leman Russ slander where I can get it. So, good take. Malgador was better than the Emperor. Okay, well, first off, we're trying to do hot takes, not fucking truth takes. Malgador was better than the Emperor at ensuring the Imperium's survival. He allowed the Assassinorum to exist when Big E wasn't going to, set up the Grey Knights, set up the Administratum, set up the framework for the Inquisition, thwarted countless plots during the Horus Heresy, slowed down the traitors with his operatives, and helped Euphrates Keylor. That being said, a lot of the stuff that Malgador also created went on to be very fucking awful, but that's more of a fault of the Heresy and him not being present afterwards, because, Malgador kind of fucking died, but, not necessarily his fault. The Khan should have stayed dead, and it would have made his themes more interesting and allow for more stakes. Leaving only 2 dead loyalist Primarchs will always bother me, and Khan should have been one of those who died, especially since he isn't in the modern setting with no hints of him returning. I don't know if the Khan dying would have done much for him. I think it was safer to just kill off Ferrus Manus because the Iron Hands aren't particularly interesting to begin with anyways. But there had to be 2 dead loyalist Primarchs because there's 2 dead traitor Primarchs, which is Horus and fucking what's his name, Conrad Kurz, because nobody knows if Alpharius and or Omegon are dead or not because Alpha Legion. But I don't know if the Khan dying would have made anything better, and it's not like there's whispers of him still being out there or even coming to return, so he might as well be as good as dead at this point. And lastly, people who complain about one biome planets in a setting misunderstand that nothing about 40k is meant to be grounded or realistic. This is also my problem with fucking people who complain about Star Wars. Why aren't these planets so varied as Earth are? Because Star Wars is a fantastical world that isn't fucking real. But yeah, no. That's all the takes that I got from the community, at least the ones that were good. I will be making a shorter video about me reading the ones that kind of just pissed me off because people were trying my fucking patience, I guess, throughout all this. But I want to go ahead and leave you with this, my own personal, like, genuine hot take. And that is, this is a tabletop one, so if you don't care, then you go ahead and click off the video. But for the people who say that Warhammer is complicated and hard to get into, and I'm not talking about spending money at all. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about rules-wise. If you think that Warhammer, especially now, is still hard to get into, please, for the sake of everybody, never fucking touch a miniature war game. This is the easiest this game has ever been to play. Like, hands down, this is the easiest. I have had 0 fucking trouble understanding the game. The only time I've ever had to ask for help is when we run into, like, a specific, like, weird, like, conflicting use case of rules. And that's only ever happened, like, twice when I was playing 10th edition. You know what I fucking miss? I fucking miss 9th edition, where we had 50 million stratagems for every fucking unit, where you could make every single character into a smash captain or have them do some crazy goofy shit and fuck with the entire flow of the game. I miss that shit. I miss my creativity. And guess what? I lost all of that because of whiny little fucking assholes who couldn't handle looking up what a fucking keyword is. Genuinely. If you think Warhammer is really hard to fucking play and grasp, don't touch miniature wargaming. That's my fucking hot take. You should not be anywhere near the gameplay side of the hobby. Paint your minis, engage with the lore, play the video games. I'm not telling you don't interact with Warhammer. That's a completely different fucking thing. I'm telling you, if you are the type of person who said you wanted the game to be more simple and didn't fucking play 10th edition, don't fucking be in my hobby. Get out of my sight. That being said, with my little hate-filled rants in this video gone, if you want more hate-filled rants, go ahead and check out the members video. If you are a member of the channel, it's not that expensive. If you become a member, you get your name on a mini after a year if you are chosen or higher. I kit bash you into my army and so on and so forth. You know the whole spiel. But a big ol' thank you to Saint Gonk, what a fucking name, Mountain Papa 11, Crimson, Lone, CB Jor 95, The Hog, Toaster, and Felicia, Josh from Allstate, Balding Dragon 62, Regular Alley, Suspendor, Javier Soto, Matt the Jam Man, Overdraft Perfection, NV, The Coffee Addict, Zachary Y, The God Emperor of R, Alexander McCabe, Ritz, Arctic Berserker, Omidium, and Captain Bubbles. And a bigger thank you to these fine folks: Divine Backhand, Nabus Omicron, The Great Sword Cowboy. I think I did include your take in this video, and I feel bad about that, but I didn't feel one way or another about it. My bad, OG. Jokimitsu 45, Celtic, Human Spirit Indomitus, John Papa John, Icigo 11, Crazy Axeman, Commander Apo CC 1119, Solace in the Void, Slap My Fat Nuts Man, I didn't laugh that time, Nameless Ghoul Ease, Never Lost Man, Gap G, Dism, Felix, Up Up Down Down Left Right, Istra, and Ape Brain Esquire. I should have time to make one more normal video before I go on break. I will try to make 2 videos so that way while I'm gone, you at least have something, but there might be a week, if not 2-week long break in between my video schedule because I have a tournament that I'm going to be going to and I need to see when that is actually. That being said, thank you. This is going to be definitely one of the longer videos I've made, and I will see you guys next week.